My name is Brian Curtis, and it looks like we are live on Lab Coat Agents. Normally, you guys get Tristan in this hour, but today you guys are going to get me. Tristan had something come up, so last minute he reached out to me and asked me to come and share here today. So I hope that I can bring you guys some value and that you can potentially learn something today that we can do. So, a big topic as we move forward in 2022, and I'm going to argue into 2023, is that we need to start focusing on where our next deal is coming from. I'm going to guess that many of you watching had the same experience that I've had over the last 24 months, and that basically people begging us to help them buy houses, or people really excited to sell their house because they knew the second that they put it on the market they were going to get an offer, and usually multiple offers. Well, obviously times have changed a little bit, and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on what side of that equation you fall on, we need to start looking at things slightly differently as the market has shifted. And for the majority of us, I'm going to say that happened somewhere in the range of about 6 months ago. So I can speak to my market and several other markets across the country, and what we've seen decrease in the number of active buyers. We've seen an increase in the number of houses for sale, but I see a lot of people who are struggling right now. So, the core majority of most people's business is going to be sphere and past clients. I will add this, though. Most of us, and hopefully most of you don't fall into this category, those of you who are joining us today, but the majority of agents I speak to, they're thrilled to get past client referrals. They're thrilled to work with their SOI, but they don't have a plan. So today, I just wanted to cover 3 different things that you can do to move forward. So I want to start with this really simple concept. The person who controls the listings over the next year is going to be the person who wins. So why is that important? Because most of you are saying, Brian, that was true 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 24 months ago. And I'm going to 100% agree with you. Right now, just like always, the person who controls the listings is the person who's going to win. And I think it's important for us to understand as some of our buyers are leaving the market, they're saying, hey, we're hearing this over and over again. Brian, I don't want to buy a house right now because I don't want to pay 7% interest. I don't want to pay 7.5% interest. I don't want to pay 8% interest. So we're going to have to switch from people who what I refer to as opportunity buyers. And we had a lot of those. I feel like in 2020 and 2021 and the beginning of 2022, a lot of our people who were buying houses simply for opportunity. In other words, if you can get a 2.25% interest rate, we're selling somebody's house right now as a 2.25% interest rate on their house, which is crazy to me. It's actually kind of hard for me to believe that they're going to move, but they are. So if you had that opportunity in front of you, it's almost hard to say no to. So a couple things that we've got to look forward to, and I want to start with some general scripts for those of you who are talking to people and they're struggling with whether they should move right now. And my scripts that I'm going to cover right here are almost solely focused on people who are renters, because one of the things I want you to think about if you're talking to your past clients and talking to the people who are your sphere, on the buy side, if they're a renter, then a lot of them are saying, Brian, I think I should wait. And I think that it's going to be better next year. And I want you guys to understand this and be able to use this. Now is always the best time to buy. And let me explain this real quick, and then I'll go into some of the things that we're going to do to help reach out to our past clients and some of the things that can help you bring some more business in. But once you're having that conversation with somebody, you're going to hear this objection. And I just wanted to cover it on the front end. So, hey, Brian, I think the interest rates are going to drop next year. I'm going to wait till next year. So, and by the way, that's a real possibility. I've been reading stuff like Fannie and Freddie say that interest rates could actually be back in the 4s next year. No promise, by the way. Don't go around and tell everybody that Brian said the interest rates are going to be in 4s next year. But I want you guys to think about this. If interest rates drop into the 4s next year, which again is a possibility, heck, they could be 9 or 10. It doesn't really matter. This script works. So I'd like you guys to think about this. In 2021, was it better to be a buyer or was it better to be an owner? And if I was with you, I'd ask for your opinion on that, but this is a live webinar. And so what I want you to think about, though, is in my opinion, it was better to be an owner in 2021 than a buyer. Why? Well, because if I owned a house, that I was comfortable with the payment with, and I could go and I could refinance that house and I could get a lower payment. If I was a buyer, I had the opportunity to get that same low interest rate, but a couple of things happened. First of all, I had to compete against 10, 20, 30, 40 people. And then second of all, I was actually paying above market value for that house, or above appraised value. I guess we weren't paying above market value. Market value is what someone is willing to pay, but we were actually paying above appraised value. I want you to fast forward to October 11th of 2022. If you were buy a house today, you're going to pay a significantly higher interest rate, but you're probably the only person who's writing an offer on that house, and you may actually be able to pay less than they're asking or get seller concessions. So now I want you to flash forward again a year from now and say interest rates are 4.5%. What is going to happen? My personal opinion is if interest rates drop again, we're going to be right back where we were in 2021. We're going to be back to opportunity. And all those people who didn't buy a house in 2021 or 2022 are now going to rush out and buy houses. So again, is it better to be an owner or is it better to be a buyer? I argue it's always better to be an owner, because now if it's 2023, I'm in multiple offers again, we're paying appraisal gaps, all I do is refinance. So I'm going to challenge each and every one of you the next time somebody says I'm going to wait for interest rates to drop, to ask them what's the benefit of that, to take a look at that and say, hey, you know what? If you own a house now and interest rates drop, you can go ahead and get a better deal. And guess what? If interest rates get higher, that's not better, but once again, you're locked in at a price. So it's just something to think about. We've got to challenge the thinking of our buyers out there. I was watching the news in Denver last night, and I was very happy to see this. They did a report on the Denver housing market, and this is what they said. They said the real estate market is not declining. It is simply appreciating slower. Those weren't my words, although I have been saying very similar things. Those were the things that actually occurred on the news last night. So just something to think about. All right, so that's just one of the things I wanted to point out. You're going to, when you're talking to your past clients, when you're talking to anybody, you're going to hear a lot of, I think I'm going to wait. So now I just want to go into one of the strategies that we can take a look at that might be very helpful for us as we move forward. So this is what's referred to easy CMA strategy. And really all this is reaching out to your clients and letting them know what their house is worth. So many of us have sold a lot of houses in the last 24 months. It's been an amazing market and there's been great opportunities. But now what? Like, again, we don't have people beating down our doors. I want you to point this out. I literally put my personal house that I had in another state. I moved to Colorado. I have a house in Arkansas and put it on the market last week and got an offer on it on Sunday. Pretty excited about that. But here's the reason I even tell the story. As a real estate agent, I didn't really realize that my house was worth exactly what it was. And I know that kind of sounds funny, but I wasn't doing a CMA on my own house. I wasn't looking at the comps in my neighborhood until I went to put that house on the market. And my house has more than doubled in value from 2014 until today. So, I paid about $225,000 for my house and I'm under contract for $449,000. So I've doubled value in my house in just 8 years. So, but here's the other thing. It's interesting. The majority of that appreciation came in the last 24 months. So, more realistically, it came in 2020 and 2021. And sometimes we hear things like, oh, the market went up significantly, there's 25%, but we really don't grasp what that means for us as a homeowner, or we don't necessarily grasp what that means for our sellers. So I'm just going to go over this really simple process, and this is what I will challenge each and every one of you to do. And our statistics are about 1 out of 7 people that you do this for will get you an appointment. So it's just a really simple strategy, and here's what we're going to do. Step 1, do 10 CMAs for people who are people that you think might be, might want a house. What's the category? First of all, it's anybody. They have to own the house. Obviously, I'm not going to do a CMA for someone who doesn't own a house. So step 1 is identify at least 10 people, past clients, sphere, people that you know that own a house. Ideally, this is for past clients because you've got that relationship and you have them buy the house, but it would work just fine if somebody owns a house. Ideally, they've owned that house 2 to 5 years. And the reason I say that is someone who's owned their house 10, 15, 20 years, they expect to have a appreciation in their house since they've owned it so long. But someone who's owned their house for 2 years or even less, they're going to be really surprised. And so remember, when we're dealing with past clients and Sphere, the number one thing that we're trying to do is bring value. And I think that's one of the things that I've always disliked about making past client calls. Hey, this is Brian Curtis Realty Group, just reaching out to you today to wonder if you happen to know anybody who's looking to buy or sell a house. I don't know about you, but I don't love that script. It's a script that I've been taught. There's different variations on it. I'm in a contest. But here's the reality. That is an ask-only script. And not that you get some business from it, and I'm an advocate of following up with our past clients. Let's look at where we can get some reciprocity. So back to the CMA. I'm going to do 10 one-page CMAs. I'm going to do a quick screen share here to give you an idea what this looks like. And give me 1 second. Let's see if I can get my technology to work with me here. Okay. And view. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you guys what I'm talking about. But would you adjust the CMA for the crazy market? Okay. All right, Kathy, I'll answer your question in just 1 second here. Let me share my screen and show you what I'm talking about. This is the CMA, and I created this just for this class. There's nothing special about it. I want to point out the unbelievable simplicity of this. So all I did is I took a picture of the house. I wrote Comparative Market Analysis on the top. I wrote this. You could put the people's name in here, Bob and Sue Smith or whatever they are. And then I want to show between 3 and 5 comparable properties that have sold. I want to show the purchase price of what the people paid for their house, the approximate value of their home today, and then the market appreciation. And I don't know about you, but if I bought this house 3 years ago for $457,000, I'd be really excited to see that today it was worth $789,000. So the idea is a little bit of shock factor. And you know, what's the worst thing that happens is we get to have a conversation with somebody about how much their value has gone up. And the idea behind this, and we process that goes with this, is just to simply have some more conversations with our past clients. And because here's the thing, maybe this person doesn't want to sell their house, but they're really impressed with how much appreciation there was in the market, and they know their neighbor was kind of interested in talking to their house. This is an opportunity. You provided a value. The law of reciprocity says that the people you're talking to are going to want to provide a value back to you. So, all right, give me 1 second. Let me look at the chat here. It looks like we have a couple of questions. Yeah, it's super easy. I completely agree. I'm not talking about some complex thing. Okay, so I got another question that says, hold on a second. Okay, but how would you adjust the CMA for the crazy market that made those comps no longer exist? So, Kathy, this is what Kathy says, but how would you adjust the CMA for the crazy market that made those comps no longer exist? So a couple of things, Kathy. I want people to have a realistic value. In other words, I'm not interested in sharing $789,000 in my example if I don't think their house is worth it. So you can do some adjustments. So my market is not currently a declining market. As a matter of fact, I looked at sales in April. The average sales price was $389 in my market. And then I looked at the end of August, and the average sales price was $404. So not a gigantic appreciation, but still some appreciation. So to me, the comps were still good. However, if you're in a market that's actually declining, and I don't know this, but it's probably someplace in the country we're actually seeing a decline, just make an adjustment for declining market. If you notice my CMA, I'm not showing the people the adjustments on there. So again, I want to give people an honest value. The last thing I want to do is tell somebody their house is worth $800 when it's worth $720. I go get an appointment. All that does is piss them off. So I appreciate that. And since you're not actually showing them, you're not showing your work like you're in fourth grade, would you mail this or call them or email? Perfect. Okay. Thank you. And step 1 is I create these. And again, I want to reiterate this. Make something extremely simple like I did. You can add a couple of other things, but do that. So, hold Hemi actually says that some neighborhoods we're seeing $100,000 price drops. I agree with you. We're seeing price drops, not quite that much because I'm not in San Diego. We're seeing price drops all over the country, but let me say this. Just because someone price drop doesn't mean that the average sales price is going up. It might be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. So price drop does not equal declining market. Price drop means I listed my house for more than it was worth. Now I need to drop the price to where it's actually a value that people might be interested in it. Again, those things are not direct correlations. They're definitely lead indicators. We want to pay attention to them. But on its surface, on its face, a per drop of $100,000 does not mean that the market is declining. It means that the person's house price was $100,000 overpriced. Okay. So step one, I'm going to create the CMA. Step two, I'm going to send this email. And you don't have to send this exact email, but this is a good email. I'm just going to read it out. So it says, hey, Bob, Fred, Sue, whoever your client is, I hope this email finds you and your family well. I wanted to reach out with some amazing news about the home and how it's appreciated in value. As you know, home prices in Denver, that's where I live, have increased quite a bit in the past 24 months. However, I'm guessing that you may not realize how much. Believe it or not, in our market, we've seen over 25% appreciation in the past 2 years. You really did make an amazing investment buying your home. To keep you informed, I've prepared a market analysis to show you the actual that's occurred on your home specifically, and I know you're going to be happy when you look at those numbers. I'm going to call you here in the next 24 hours and answer any questions that you may have. In the meantime, feel free to call me right away if you'd like to discuss sooner. So I'm going to send that email to those people. Now, I will say this. If you're a person who's busy, don't do this. You do not want to be the person who doesn't do what they say they're going to do. So step one, I create the CMAs. Step two, I'm actually going to send a very simple email and go through this. We will put, and someone is asking where we can watch the replay, and I will go ahead and we'll put that in the chat. Sure, Barry can do that for us. Put in the chat where we can watch the replay if you don't mind. That way you guys can go ahead and do that. All right, so that's step two, is I'm actually going to mail out the thing. One of the things that I'm hoping that most of you've caught is that I actually said that I was going to call this person. So I'll do this again. You're not going to call this person. Don't write the email. Don't send the CMA. Somebody asked me what the response rate was. We're getting a response rate in excess of 50%. Now, I'm not getting in excess of 50% of people who want to list their house, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I apologize for that. But you're going to see probably, I would say, 50 to 75%. Why? These are not cold leads. These are not home value leads. These aren't people who came to your website. These are your friends. You can expect for some of you, depending on the relationships that you've built, as high as 100% simply because you're sending this to people you know and people who know, like, and trust you. So, it really depends on how warm or how cold your list is. And what I mean by that is if you are a person who has never followed up with your past client that you sold a house to 3 years ago, your answer rate might be a little bit lower than somebody who's got them on kind of consistent follow-up. So it really is going to depend on you. But I will also say this. If you follow all of these steps, I would say you should at least get to 70%. Somebody asked me for the script, and yes, I will figure out how to put a link to that script in someplace so you guys have it here in the replay. So, all right. So, step three. I'm going to send them a text message. So why am I going to send them a text message? Well, because text has a 91% read rate. And I don't know if you guys know that or not. And people oftentimes are talking about kind of bashing on text. I like text not as a way to convert somebody, but as a way to start a conversation. So it's going to look something like this. Hey, I just sent you an email, and and I'm sure you're going to want to look about your home and how much it's appreciated. I know it's going to make you smile. I'll give you a call in the next 24 hours to answer any questions you might have. I would also, those of you who like Giphy, I would throw in some kind of gift there, some kind of celebration, some kind of cheers, at least a smiley face. So this is something to be really excited about for some people. Imagine this: you bought a house 2 years ago for $300,000, and now it's worth $500,000. And again, I can't speak to each of your markets, but I promise that that is not a thing out there that a lot of people aren't doing. Okay, once I do that, I'm going to once again do the things that I say I'm going to. So day one, I'm going to create the CMAs. I'm going to email them out, and I'm with a text message. So again, why am I doing a text message? Kind of like people were asking what the contact rate was. That text message will drive people to look at the email. And if you note the language, I'll read it to you again. I just sent you an email you're going to want to be sure to take a look at. We're trying to tease people, say there's something important here about your home and just how much it's appreciated in value. Now, I understand that not everybody wants to talk to us all the time, but everybody wants to know if their house became more in value. It's a real good possibility that people are going to look at this, and I know it's going to make you smile. And again, do some celebration, that kind of stuff. I think it might be fun. And I feel like if you have any kind of relationship with these people, you're going to get a very high answer rate. Okay, so day two, I'm actually going to call them. And this is I would argue that the most of us don't want to do. And this is the part you absolutely have to do for two reasons. First of all, you can't sell over a text message. You can't sell over an email. And second of all, you said you were going to call, assuming that you're following if you're saying you're going to call. So I'm just going to call them up and just say, hey, this is Curtis Realty Group just reaching out to you. Did you get a chance to look at the email that I sent? And they're going to say yes, they're going to say no, whatever they happen to say. What we're going to do at this point in time is have a conversation with them. Hey, how are things with you and the kids? Are you guys liking the house? Were you surprised by the value? I can tell you, even though I'm in real estate, it's really baffling to me how much the market has increased in the last 24 months. So these are things that you can do. I will say this also. If you do not get them on the call, I would set up your drip for yourself reminders to do it for the next 3 days. So pretty simple. Again, I will throw a message back. Okay. I'll throw this in the chat so that you guys can have it. But ultimately, all we're going to do, send a CMA, send an email, send a text message, and then call 4 times. I would also say this: after you call them, if they do not answer, leave a voice message. Hey, this is Brian Curtis with Curtis Realty Group, just following up about the text and email that I sent yesterday. And then follow up with the text. Hey, boy, I just left you a quick voicemail. When you have 5 minutes, give me a call. So we're seeing about 1 out of 7, 1 out of 8 appointments for this. And again, sometimes it's their personal house that is going out, and other times it's just houses that in the neighborhood getting referrals. People are excited about that. I don't know if anyone really thinks about this, but most people really like to help other people. So if you're getting something like this as the potential seller, it's a real good chance you're going to share it with your friends and your family. So it's an opportunity to spider web this thing out and show that. So anyway, that's my first strategy. I'm not going to have time to go over all my other ones, but I am going over just one more strategy of something, and it's much simpler, but I think it's an important thing that we can do at this time of the year. And what that is client events. And there's a whole complex system that you can create for client events. Let me dumb it down and make it real simple. Right now, I'd buy some pies. And I know that that's people like, oh yeah, that's boring, that's stupid. I can tell you that we gave away 191 pies last year and we got 5 appointments. So you guys can do the math based on what a pie costs in your market. But a couple of things that are really important if you're going to do a client event. So first of all, don't get carried away and do a super expensive client event that's going to cost you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 if you've got 25 past clients. But what an opportunity. So again, I'm going to talk about the law of reciprocity again. If I called you up and said, hey, Bob, this is Brian with Curtis Realty Group. We're just reaching out to people and a quick client appreciation event. And we know Thanksgiving's coming up and we're so thankful that you're our client. With that in mind, we're giving away some pies from one of our local bakeries. By the way, I'll say this. I've seen people do pie events where they go to Sam's Club or they go to Walmart or they go to Costco, and I think those places have fine pies. Nothing wrong with those pies, but there's also nothing special about those pies. So if you have a local place that is a local bakery or just kind of a cool, we actually have a place where I was living that actually had that they did make pies. If you have something like that, it has a better value because everybody can go to Costco and buy a pie. Everybody can go to Walmart and buy a pie, but not everybody's going to go to, Bob's Specialty Pies and get a pie. I would also suggest you have three options. And so I'm a big fan of giving people options or doing what we call slot closes or double binds. So I might say this, hey, Bob, really appreciate your business. By the way, we're doing a pie giveaway, and I was just wondering, we've got an apple, we've got a cherry, and we've got a pumpkin pie. Which one would you like? And I'm not necessarily going to ask them if they want the pie, but I'm going to ask them which one that they would like. It really is going to give you an opportunity to simply show up. Now, there's two ways to do this. If you've got 20 people that you're getting pies to, drive them to the house. Go and see them. Let them know. Set that up. If you don't, if you have like us, we had over, I think we gave away 191 pies last year. The majority of those, we had people come and pick them up at our office. So there's a million client events that you can do, but I can tell you right now, the pie one, we get good success with. We've done it 4 or 5 times year over year. People love it, they enjoy it, and it's really not that expensive to do that. So I got a question here. I'm going to take a look and see what that is. I wrap mine with a special nice dollar store ribbon and nice tags. Perfect. The more that you can make it feel special, Christine, I really love that. And it's really a powerful thing to do. And I can't say this enough. The law of reciprocity works. When you give something to somebody, they want to give back to you. So that's a pretty simple strategy about what that is. So I know I've spent a little bit of time on our easy CMA thing here, but I'll recap. So many people have no idea what the value of their house is. And again, real estate agent, my personal story is I didn't realize how much my house was worth until about 3 or 4 months ago when I started looking to put it on the market. So that it's almost embarrassing, but I think it really makes a valid point. We get very insulated in what we know. In other words, we live each and every day in the MLS showing houses, going on listings. We get a real good feel for what the market is. But understand your past clients, they're interested in real estate, most of them, but most of them do not spend hours and hours every day. Just like, most people, if you're not buying a car, you don't know what a car costs right now. I have no idea what my car's worth. Why? Because I haven't looked to my car. Why would I know what it's worth? So, and then the other thing I would say about that strategy is follow the strategy. In other words, don't skip a step. If you're not going to make the phone calls, don't do it. If you're not going to send the text messages, don't do it. Take every single step along the way, and that will be significantly more powerful going through the entire process. And then I will also say this about your client events. Purpose of a client event, and I think a lot of people get this wrong. I think a lot of people think the purpose of a client event is to celebrate our clients. That's one purpose, and I'm not against that. As a matter of fact, I think it's great when we celebrate our clients. That being said, the most powerful thing about a client event is a reason to connect with that person. So I didn't really cover this, but I want to cover it. I want you to multi-channel this. And what do I mean by that? I want you to call the person. I want you to text the person. I want you to video text the person. All of these things are ways to reach people. And if you're going to be a person who's just going to send a text, and I've seen people do that. Hey, we're having a client event. Hey, this is Brian with Curtis Realty Group. Just wanted to know if you're interested in a pie. We're giving away pies. Now they get the pie, and that's great, but you miss the opportunity to have the conversation. So do not ask them directly. So for example, if you are also going to send a text message, say, hey, we're doing this. I need to know what type of pie you want. Give me a call so I can have a discussion with this person. So when you're doing a client event, it's not about getting people to show up to the client event. It's about the opportunity, give them something, and have a conversation. Anyway, I hope you guys got a lot out of this today. I will find it live on Facebook, and I will post the scripts that were in there that you can come back. So go find this replay on Facebook, and it looks like it will be at abrillianttribe.com, and I will get all that stuff put out there, and then, of course, you can rewatch it. Thank you so much for having me today. I know most of you were expecting Tristan. I hope I brought enough value that you were happy that you came today. So Thanks, everybody. Have an amazing afternoon.